Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new PNSO release as we've got their newest figure here to take a look at. This is Mateo the Tyrannotitan, and this is one that I know was very much so anticipated by many. I know a lot of people have wanted, and of course me included, we have wanted a Tyrannotitan model for quite some time, especially a really nice one like this. I think the only ones, if I remember correctly, that I even have in my collection would be the Eritrea and Alita Heroes versions. I think are the only ones that I personally own, so it's nice to now have one from PNSO, which is obviously a more mass-produced version of the dinosaur. And would you look at the colors on this? Such beautiful variation of colors, really flashy, but somehow still naturalistic. I love the blue tail specifically, is definitely something I am a huge fan of when it comes to this figure. You can see, though, that the dinosaur is lipless, and again, some people are a little upset about that. Some people don't really care. I myself find myself in the spot of not really caring so much, because even though I do like lipped dinosaurs, it's not like a deal breaker for me. I don't, care enough about whether it has lips or not to somehow not be able to enjoy the figure, and I think I'm going to absolutely love this Tyrannotitan once I break it out of the box. But you can see, again, the artwork here on the box just basically shows a really nice image of the figure. You've got the PNSO logo and, of course, the dinosaur's name. And if we turn it around and take a look here at the top, you can see another image of the dinosaur, and then again the logo over here, and pretty much the same thing you're going to see on all sides. So you can see some information over here. But so let's go ahead, pop this out of the box and check it out. Of course, right out of the packaging, we've got our stand, which is always handy to have that. It actually has two stands, which is interesting. I didn't realize that at first. I don't know if that's something that's, meant to be the case, or if maybe that's just like a random error that I ended up getting too. I'm not really too sure. But we also have the booklet that is upside down. There we go, actually backwards and upside down. And inside the booklet, you're going to find all sorts of really fun stuff to read so that you can learn all about the dinosaur, as well as tons of really cool images and art for the dinosaur. Let's go ahead and go back actually to that one. There's a really cool image that actually has pretty much the same colors as the version that we have here in, like an animated form. And that's pretty cool. Sometimes you'll see artwork on the insides of these PNSO booklets that looks very different compared to the dinosaur that you get in the figure, but that time it actually does replicate it pretty nicely. So it's going to be, of course, a really fun read. I always enjoy these booklets that PNSO continues to include. And then we've got ourselves a poster, and I always love the posters as well. So let's go ahead and open the poster up and see what we are dealing with inside. So this time we've got ourselves a little bit of dino toy photography for our Tyrannotitan, which you can see. There's a very nice image of the figure itself in a nice wooded area, kind of walking along as per usual, whether it's just, like drawn artwork or dino toy photography, whatever PNSO includes when it comes to these posters, it is always frame worthy, and that is definitely the case with this really nice poster. And then, of course, we've got the Tyrannotitan itself in all of its glory. And look at how beautiful those colors are. Like, that blue running out onto the tail is so nice. I just can't get enough of that really nice blue. I also really quite like the patterning through this one. Like, it is loaded with nice patterning through the course of the entire figure. And they've done a very good job, like they usually do, of adding in quite a bit of variation of color. Like, you can even see slight differences to the brownish tones that are included on the body. Really nice sculpt as well. Again, definitely giving us one of the best looking Tyrannotitan models that we'll probably ever see. So as always, let's jump to a closer look and check it out from there. So beginning up here at the head sculpt of the Tyrannotitan, you can see it looks absolutely gorgeous. The skin texture is really nicely done. You can see when you get nice and close, you've got all sorts of beautiful scale detail. Very nice, very fine scales as you lead up kind of closer to the eye, but once you get into the eye socket, you can see some larger scales right there. The scales increase in size as you lead down closer to the jawline, and then we've got those almost at this point trademark larger scales that you see following along the snout here and the jawline of the upper jaw right here as you lead out. And I like that they've added a nice dark tone and again given it that nice light wash, which is something they often do when it comes to that area on PNSO releases. And I always think it looks really good. Does the same job here, again looking really quite nice. You can also see a ton of variation of color. The paint jobs of PNSO figures are so unbelievably realistic and lifelike. It truly is quite crazy. Again, you can see just looking here in the face, there's just so much variation, very subtle differences when it comes to the reddish tones and brownish tones and stuff that we have going on here in the face. And there's also a nice dark wash that you usually see on PNSO figures that they somehow have completely perfected. I don't think I've ever seen dark washes used better than what I see on PNSO releases. The eye also has a darkening around it as far as like the tone of color. You've got like a black that kind of circles around the eye area. You can see the eye is painted really nicely and also sports a black pupil and has a nice gloss coat to it, so it shines quite nicely. As you lead down into the lower jaw, again you can see the scale detail looks excellent. We also transition to a lighter tone, kind of like a light tan sort of tone for the lower jaw of the dinosaur. Again, that dark wash highlighting all of those scales really nicely. We do, of course, have an articulated jaw, which opens really nicely. You can see it opens quite wide as well as you lead into the mouth. You've got a nice lighter tone in here, and you can see it all has a nice gloss coat on top of everything. Actually, maybe even a little variation of color in there, like looks like maybe there's like a light pink kind of mixed with a purplish tone in there a little bit. And then if we go up here onto the inside of the mouth, you can definitely see it up here, as well as a slight reddish wash in a few areas. Again, the detailing on the inside of the mouths of PNSO figures is continuously like jaw-dropping. I'm trying to get in there because you can see the throat back there as well. It's just a little bit hard to really get that far back there. The light doesn't quite catch it. You can see the teeth are all sculpted individually as well as you move around. Same deal for the lower jaw. And they seem to be painted pretty darn nicely, which you can see there again. The teeth for their size are pretty impressive, and they're also impressively well painted. Again, no real sloppiness or anything that I can see. And then as we move up here, you can see the nostrils for the dinosaur. Leading back here, you can see the ear as well sculpted out. You've got a darker brown tone up and over the top of the head. As you lead back into the neck, you start to pick up a striping effect moving down along the spinal column. You can see that purplish tone creep in as well. It's a fairly dark tone of purple, so it looks nice and natural, I would say. As you lead along, you can continue to see how incredibly vibrant and beautiful the scale detail is on this figure. You can also see, considering the dinosaur has a right turn occurring in the head, you can see a little bit of wrinkling and creasing in the neck as you move down here, especially toward the throat. Again, you've got that lighter tone here on the underside of the throat. Again, that dark wash highlighting all of the phenomenal detail. As you continue to lead down, you can see the arms are sculpted really nicely, held into the body in a very nice natural way. And even in such a small arm, you can see we start out with like that light tan, and then we have like a reddish brown, and then we transition again to a dark gray for the actual hands, and then you've got the nails painted with kind of like a lighter variation of a gray. So as always, PNSO just puts so much paintwork into their figures, again keeping them, I would say, on the top of the totem pole when it comes to the most realistic paint jobs on factory-produced, mass-produced figures. As you continue to lead into the body, though, you see that we start to pick up a patterning here that looks pretty darn cool. Again, we kind of lead out from that striping, and now it sort of starts to kind of like just pattern down into the side of the dinosaur, and it looks really nice. Again, it's not like unnatural or too dark or anything like that. It's really subtle as far as the way it's applied. Like, it's super smooth and doesn't stand out in any sort of like an unnatural way. We also have a small area of like a yellowish tone that picks up here on the top of the spinal column moving along, and you can again see how nice the scale detail pops on the figure. As you lead out, though, that yellowish tone tapers off pretty quickly, and then we pick up a bluish tone that starts to kind of appear up here on the top of the dinosaur. As you lead down, you can see the hip bone right there. You see again the same type of patterning, how it kind of squiggles down here into the thigh, moving down into the thigh. You can see again lots of skin detail. The skin detail on the PNSO releases always blows my mind because there's always so much of it, and it looks so real, perfectly portraying every ounce of movement in their sculpts continuously, especially as you lead back here into the stomach. Again, all sorts of skin wrinkles and everything in front of the thigh. Same deal back here behind the thigh. Same deal as you move down here toward the knee. You can see the kneecap here on the front of the leg, and then a nice big bulging calf muscle on the back of the leg. We again transition to a darker brown moving down, and then transition to a dark gray or a black, but that also features that light wash like we see on those larger scales up there in the snout. And as you move down, we've got that, again, light wash really highlighting all of the detail here in the foot. The scoots really stand out now, again, because of the light wash that's been applied. And you can see how the foot is picking up off of the ground. The dinosaur is currently in the process of taking a step, and it looks really nice, exactly the way it looks when you see like a bird walking and stuff, is the same thing that you see here for this foot as it's continuing to take that step. And you can see the nails again painted with like a lighter tone, more of like a brown almost down here for the nails, and you can see the dew claw back here as well. Then moving up into the tail, there are some more creases and stuff back here behind the thigh. We again have that patterning running down, but what I like here is as we move out on top of the kind of black patterning, we pick up like a kind of like a dark brown that sort of appears within that patterning and striping, so it just sort of like transforms into a slightly different variation of that patterning. And as we lead out, we've got that blue creeping in and kind of overtaking a large portion of the tail leading out. And by the time you lead out here toward the tip of the tail, nothing is left except for that blue and the kind of darker patterning moving through. And again, it looks really, really nice, very flashy, but very natural at the same time. You also have a nice curve to the tail leading out. Again, nothing unnatural by any means as far as that curve goes. Moving along the underside, incredible scale detail, and I love the fact that we even have like a pinkish tone that sort of highlights the cloaca right there moving back, which I feel like is something that you could potentially see on a real living dinosaur. You can also notice that we have more of the variation of color like pinkish tones underneath the legs as you move along. And again, the scale detail continues to look absolutely incredible everywhere you look on this figure. If we turn it around and take a look at the opposing side, the head sculpt again looks absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful sculpt, beautiful paint, just as incredibly majestic as it gets for a theropod dinosaur. A little bit less creasing that you'll see over here in the neck, of course, because the dinosaur is turned away from us now, so you're not going to see quite as much creasing and everything down there in the neck. The arm is held in pretty much the same position over here as we see on the initial side, on the other side over there. Again, creasing and everything back behind the elbow. The skin stretching as you lead back here into the back of the stomach region leading into the leg, and you can see the leg is kind of trailing here as the dinosaur sort of takes a step forward, so that's why we see the skin trailing like that. And again, the patterning moving through that nice yellowish tone up here on the top of the body, the hip bone again shining through right there, and that blue beginning to pick up. It's just so nice and vibrant looking. I love that tone of blue they've added to it. And again, as you lead down, you can see even a slight crouch to this leg as the dinosaur is currently taking a step. You can just see how the weight is kind of buckling here with that leg. And again, just showing how muscular the dinosaur is as well, because you can see the calf bulging right there. The thigh as well looks very muscular and kind of tensing. The foot sculpt looks very bird-like. It's also standing flat on the ground, so the dinosaur again can take its step there with the opposing side. And then we lead out here. We've got a few more skin wrinkles as we lead out again through the course of that really nice tail. So this is an absolutely unbelievable version of a Tyrannotitan, no doubt about that. Now, unfortunately with mine, I think maybe one of the feet had warped in transit because it's kind of having a little trouble standing right now. I am going to try the hot water, cold water trick once I'm done with the review to see if I can straighten that leg out and get it standing. But right now I'm going to use the stand, which of course is what they're there for, to balance the figure out so we can get a measurement on it. And lengthwise, you are looking at about a little over 13 inches or around 33 centimeters, maybe even actually a little bit past that point, closing in on 33.5 centimeters, but not quite there. And then for a height to the top of the head, about 4 3/4 inches or around 12 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to our Tyrannotitan from PNSO, and you can see again, it's got a very nice size to it. Honestly, it's exactly the size I was expecting it to be. No different, honestly, at all. It was, as soon as I pulled it out, sometimes I'll be surprised by the size of a dinosaur figure when I'm not really expecting it to be as large or as small as it could be. This one is exactly the size I thought it would be. And to further give you an idea of the size, as first of all, we have the Maraxus here next to our Tyrannotitan, and you can see the Tyrannotitan is just a little bit bigger than the Maraxus, which, man, that Maraxus is beautiful. Every time I see it, I am always still blown away by its beauty. We've also got the PNSO Carcharodontosaurus next to our Tyrannotitan, again showing you that the Tyrannotitan is still a little bit bigger, definitely a little bit taller as far as its positioning, but as far as overall body mass as well, definitely a little bit bigger than our Carcharodontosaurus. We've also got one of my all-time favorites from PNSO with their Acrocanthosaurus next to the Tyrannotitan for yet another comparison. And then just a few random PNSO figures. We've got the Suchomimus stepping in here for a comparison next to the Tyrannotitan, as well as Wilson the Tyrannosaurus Rex, here again stepping in for yet another comparison. And for one final comparison, we've got the most recent Tyrannosaurus from PNSO, which would be Cameron, next to the Tyrannotitan for one final idea of a size. So this brand new PNSO Tyrannotitan is yet another gorgeous figure from them. The sculpt on this is so nicely done. Again, it's one of those instances where, would I have liked to have seen lips on it? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But is it, something that's going to bother me forever that it doesn't have lips? Not at all. I don't really mind it at all when it comes to the lack of lips, but I know there are certain people that really do love their theropods with lips. So, again, I don't know what direction PNSO is heading into the future. I don't know if they're going to continue to sculpt their dinosaurs lipless or if they're going to move over to the lipped versions, because we've kind of had a mix of both from them over the last year. But this version of the Tyrannotitan, in my opinion, is absolutely gorgeous. Again, like I said, the sculpt is really nicely done, showing a nice walking pose for the dinosaur, nice slight turn and tilt to the head and neck area. It looks really nice, really natural. The fact that it has an articulated jaw also helps when it comes to a display, so you can give it the just walking and kind of wandering pose, or maybe even like a ferocious pose with the mouth open in mid-battle or something. Whatever you choose to do, it'll work nicely, especially again having the inclusion of the articulated jaw. The fine detail is as incredible as you're ever going to find on a dinosaur figure. It's super highly detailed, every ounce of movement shown perfectly, each and every scale as vibrant as it gets. It truly is an absolutely unbelievable sculpt, as it always is, especially again when it comes to the fine detail. And the paint job is fantastic. I love the fact that they've gone a little bit of a flashier route with this one, especially that blue on the tail, but I also really quite like the purplish tones of the body, the reddish tones, like the reddish browns of the face. There's just so much coloration, and you can just see as you move through the entire figure, there is no laziness at all, not even an ounce of laziness when it comes to the paint jobs of PNSO figures. They seem to strive to give you the most realistic and lifelike paint jobs continuously, and they achieve it every single time, if you ask me. And as per usual, the dark wash is applied perfectly on this figure to tie it all together. So overall, this is an absolute must-have, if you ask me, and definitely worthy of any collection. So make sure if you are interested that you pick this up. Again, I'll include links in the description to the Amazon and AliExpress stores for PNSO, where you can purchase this beautiful figure right now. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.